Golden State Media Concepts bring you Book Review Podcast, a haven for bookworms of all ages and the widest genres, from mystery to memoirs, romance to comedy, fantasy to sci-fi. If you love to read, this is a podcast for you. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Book Review Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. We are here for our second episode of this week. As I mentioned last time, we have two this week, so glad you are here again. And wow, this is completely random and off the point, but I just took my glasses off and they are filthy. When I was a kid, I've worn glasses since I was 7, and when I was a kid, my parents would take them off of my face to wash them, and then I would be like, oh wow, look at that, I can see so much clearer. And that was, for a couple of years while I was a kid, and then I started taking better care of them, and these aren't as bad as when I was a kid, but holy buckets, they're not looking good. I'm going to be so much better able to see once I clean the lenses of these glasses. So that was random, but that's my life, random sometimes. So I hope you're having a good week, whether it's random or not. There's not much to report since Tuesday's episode, just same old working, walking the dogs. It's been gorgeous weather here. I think it got up to 70 yesterday, which is around 20 Celsius? Is that right? 20 Celsius? I would have to look. I'm still, the conversion is not like, it's not really an easy conversion. You can kind of get close, but I'm still getting used to life with Celsius temperatures. I'm, 48 years with Fahrenheit, and then, well, we've lived here too, so I guess only 46 years with Fahrenheit, and then 2 years with Celsius. Still getting used to that, but anyway, it was beautiful yesterday, and we went for our usual walk at lunchtime with our dogs. And when you live in a beach town and you just can go walk on the boardwalk, walk on the beach, walk near the beach, have beautiful ocean views, it really does not suck, and we have been taking advantage of that this week especially. So not a bad thing in January. We have been loving it, and so have our dogs, although when we got back yesterday, you could tell we'd worn them out because we have a bed for them here at the office, and they immediately went to their bed and flopped down, and they were like, yeah, we're going to take a nap. Thanks, Mom. That was great. Sunshine and a walk and fresh air, and then a nap, which is not a bad way to spend a Thursday afternoon when you think about it. So let's talk about our interview for today. I am speaking with sisters, identical twins, Argita and Detina Zalli, and I asked them if they would identify themselves during the interview because they not only look alike, but they sound a lot alike. So had I not known that there were two of them, they very easily could have pulled, one of those twin maneuvers where it was really just one of them. And because we were audio only, it was just one of them, and they just did the whole interview. They could have pulled that over on me very easily, but they are very good about identifying themselves often when they're speaking, so you know which one is speaking at which time in terms of answering questions. But Argita and Detina wrote a memoir. It is called Good Morning Hope. Let me give you the description of the memoir. It is their experience as refugees and immigrants. Born in poverty-stricken Albania, twin sisters Argita and Detina Zalli always dreamed of becoming doctors. But when the government collapsed, plunging the country into anarchy and civil war, the twins' dream unraveled along with their homeland. Their parents were determined to find a way to leave and save their daughters' futures, not to mention their very lives. After several dangerous attempts, they finally escaped, only to be thrust into new nightmares as refugees. With grit and determination, they fought their way forward. When tragedy struck yet again, threatening what they held most dear, the girls had to come to terms with the high price they all paid to survive. In Good Morning Hope, Argita and Detina share their harrowing story of courage and resilience. It was the strength of their family, particularly the sisters' unbreakable bond as twins, that nurtured and sustained them throughout their perilous ordeal. So that is a description of Good Morning Hope, and their story starts in the 90s when they, with the Civil War in Albania. I remember hearing about this. I was a teenager in the 90s, so, you're a little more insular then. Didn't always pay attention. I do remember hearing some about this, but of course, when you read a memoir like this, then you're getting a much more personal look at events, and you're seeing it because they were young as well. I think they're 11 or 12 when the book opens, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been a while since I read it, but they're young when the book opens, and so you're seeing it through their eyes and their experiences, and that just makes it so much more personal, of course. So we're going to let them talk about the experiences that led to them writing this and why they decided to share those experiences through this memoir. Again, the book is called Good Morning Hope. It is a true story of refugee twin sisters and their triumph over war, poverty, and heartbreak. That is the subtitle. Again, the authors are Argita and Detina Zalli. Let's turn now to that interview with them. Argita and Detina, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you joining me.
Thank you so much for inviting us. Thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. And we're here to talk about a memoir that you wrote about some your life experiences during your childhood and into early adulthood a little bit. Before we get to the memoir, though, if you wouldn't mind taking a minute to share a little bit about yourself so my listeners can get to know you, that would be great.
Yes, so I will start. So it's Argita, as I'm 5 minutes older than my twin sister, Detina. So I'm a mom of 2 boys. I'm also an Ambrose. I'm also a wife, and I'm also a professional. I have done a PhD in immunology. About 10 years ago, I did and carry out some research at University College London and Imperial College in the field of immunology and hematology. Then I was teaching a lot medical students, and then I became a senior learning designer. And I'm also a TEDx speaker and a writer.
And I am Detina. I'm also a mom of 2 boys, Destin and Soleil. So our boys pretty much grow up together. We have 4 boys between us. And I'm also, as you know, author and TEDx speaker. I've studied mainly cancer cell biology, focusing on oncology. And I am a director at the moment of STEM courses and pre-medical science at the University of Cambridge.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Argita, I love that you started out with the fact that you're 5 minutes older, because it is mentioned in the book. So it's an important fact, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes. And I love you both have 2 boys. Are they similar in ages?
Oh, yes. Like, they go from 4 years old was the youngest up to 5, both of, Detina. And so we have 4 years old. Ambrose is 4 years old. We have Amos and Soleil, who are 5 years old. And then we have Destin, who's 7.
Wonderful. Oh, those are such fun ages. I know we just got started, but let's go ahead and take our first break of this episode. When we come back, an overview of the book. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, and I will be right back.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Welcome back to the GSMC Book Review Podcast and my conversation with co-authors Argita and Detina Zalli. Let's return to the interview. Well, in terms of the book, it is called Good Morning Hope. Can you give an overview of the story?
Yes, of course. So it's Argita again. I mean, this story for us is an authentic, true story. It's very, and I hope people find it inspiring. It's about our reality in poverty-stricken Albania. We always dreamed of becoming doctors, me and my sister. But when the government collapsed into anarchy and civil war, kind of our dreams unraveled along our homeland. But our parents, who are our heroes, were determined to find a way to leave Albania and save our future. And after several dangerous attempts, we finally escaped. But then we realized that we faced a lot of nightmares as being refugees. But at the end of the day, with grit and our determination, we fought our way forward.
And one thing that I really appreciate about you sharing your story is, while I knew a little bit about what happened in Albania during this time period, I didn't know a lot. And so to learn about it from a very personal standpoint, from your own experiences, I think is really helpful. What prompted you to sit down and write the book, to share your experiences?
Now it's Detina speaking. So basically, we wanted to share our story because our story is also the story of many other refugees around the world. And it's also a story of courage and resilience. And these are things that we need in our life. And we wanted to be a positive example of strength, a positive example of love, and a positive example of how strong bonds and how a strong family and how being together help you get through anything. And this is why we wrote the story. We always knew that we were going to write it ever since we started it, because this story was like a movie for us as well. But it was our movie, and we wanted to have a happy ending. And just like many other immigrants and refugees. So that's why we wrote it.
And I think your experiences will resonate with a lot of both immigrants and refugees, because you both had started learning English before you left Albania, and you had to, as many children of immigrants and refugees often do, had to translate for your parents, which had to have been such an immense amount of pressure. Can you talk a little bit about your experiences being children, but being put into that more adult role?
Of course. I mean, our life changed forever. This is Argita speaking, by the way, ever since we stepped into England. Being in Albania, we always imagined this fantastic life, like in a fairy tale, where you could buy a Mickey Mouse bag or a Mickey Mouse ruler and have fun and go to the slides and go to all the different parks. But then we realized that was far from the reality. Ever since we stepped into England, we became so responsible. So we became the parents of our parent. That's how I always explain it, because our parents couldn't speak English, so they were totally dependent on us. So we were thrown at the very deep end, and we had no choice but to fight for our future, fight for our life, and ensure that we could be the best versions of ourselves in helping others, but also helping our family to get through this.
Yeah, it is. It's an amazing story, and it reads like a movie. I could, you can kind of picture everything that's going on, and just the terror and the fear that you felt at different stages, but also the hope. It is called Good Morning Hope. And you managed to maintain that hope, even in the midst of the things that were scary, the things that were hard. And it felt like reading it that maybe even more so as twins, if one was not feeling that hope, the other was able to provide it. So was that something that was instilled in you by your parents, or did you kind of come to it together? How did that work?
Well, it was definitely something also instilled by our parents, who always taught us ever since we were children that we should always support one another. But it's also, as I say, a twin thing. And I think being twins has helped us tremendously. I'm not sure how one of us would have coped if one of us was alone in this journey. Because every time I was not feeling so hopeful, for example, Argita was always going to give me hope, and vice versa. So, and this continues like this even nowadays. I think the support that we give to one another, it's something extraordinary, and this is one of the things that we feel really lucky about.
Oh, I would imagine. Yeah, it's wonderful to have that support in each other. Growing up, I always wished I was a twin. My dad's sisters are twins, as I mentioned in this interview, and I always thought that was very cool. So I either thought, well, maybe since I'm not a twin, obviously I can't change that, but maybe someday I'll have twins. But neither one happened. At any rate, it is time for our second break of the podcast. When we come back, we'll talk more about the writing process and how they coordinated that as co-authors. Stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, and I will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Book Review Podcast and my conversation with Argita and Detina Zalli. Let's return to that conversation. And as twins, and you have a different kind of relationship than maybe many siblings do, what was the writing process for you like? Since you wrote the book together, did you each take different parts and write them? Did you write everything together?
I mean, it was very easy to write the book together because we experienced the same story, and it was very easy to divide the chapters as well with the specific titles, because each chapter shows a specific time during our journey, if that makes sense. And it had a significant impact on how we felt throughout the journey. And together we kind of selected the frame of the book, and then we started writing. Each of us wrote a chapter, and then after that we would read each other's notes and then add or fill in additional details that perhaps the other had forgotten. So it went very smoothly, I have to say, also because we're twins and we think the same.
Right. That is handy in co-authors. How about those experiences that you did write about? You said that they were significant. Was that pretty easy to just sit down and outline which experiences you wanted to include in the book? Or was there a little back and forth about some that you thought maybe would be included but weren't, or vice versa?
Well, it was very easy because we almost included everything we experienced in the book. So basically it's our story. It's a true story. So everything happened. So, and for our journey to make sense, for our story to make sense, we shouldn't have missed any particular things. So that was very easy to, to decide as well. And as Argita said, we used to fill each other on parts that perhaps one of us had forgotten. But we also kept notes while we were traveling to the UK. So we had our diary since we were teenagers, 13 years old, where we kept exact note of what has happened. And that helped us very much in the book process.
At that point, ever since we were going on this journey at 13 years of age, we knew that we were going to write a book. And I remember asking my dad to take a picture of the scene that we were experiencing. And my dad, he said, no, you can't do that, because there were also, older boys over there. We never know what they had. They were, it was the dangerous situation to be in. As you will read in the book. So I wasn't able to take that picture, but I remember that picture, and I started taking notes of everything that I and Detina could see at that point in time.
I would imagine that was very helpful to reconstruct the story. You remember a lot of things yourselves, but then to have the notes to look back on must have been very helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was like reviving the same the same scenes again.
Yes. And how was that for you in the writing process, for, reliving some times that were not the easiest? Was it cathartic, or did it bring up a lot of painful memories? How was the writing process?
It did bring the painful memories. We did experience, the feelings that we experienced when we were teenagers, but also we had time to reflect a lot, and also be thankful about the support that we had, and also realize the determination and the belief that we had in ourselves enabled us to succeed and achieve what we have achieved in the life so far. So it was a reflective process that enabled us to rethink our life, and think about how we have developed as women as well, and what we can do, what we have learned, and what we can pass on to our kids as well, so they can succeed and build that resilience that we all need in this time of uncertainty.
And what do your parents think of the book? What does your extended family think of the book?
Well, they loved it, and they were surprised because some of them did not know the details of every step we have taken. Obviously, we have spoken to them, but not in so much details as the book reads. And I was actually on the phone with a family member last night, and she said to me exactly the words, "Detina, I couldn't put the book down. Every time I was working, I was looking forward to finish work so I could go home and read the book." And she said also that it was a great experience. And she also told me that she did not know how much we had gone through in the UK. So the feedback has been very positive, and we want to spread hope, and we want to make sure that people are inspired by our story. And basically, it's a story of courage and resilience.
And that's actually a wonderful segue into my question of, it is a story of hope. So is hope the main thing that you would like for people to take away from reading the book, or are there other messages you hope they'll take away?
I think it's about self-belief as well. Seeing, sometimes, I really believe strongly that if you see a positive outcome in anything you do in life, that will happen to you because that's what you believe, and you have to action your beliefs. So what I would say is basically believe in yourself, action your beliefs, and be determined to achieve whatever is it that you want to achieve. So it's about you, and also it's about you thinking of failures as stepping stones to success, and realizing that everyone fails. It takes a lot of hard work and courage and determination to get there. But as long as you believe in yourself, and I'm just emphasizing the word believe, there's nothing and no one to stop you, because you can decide your own fate.
Yeah, and your story really is amazing. Despite the difficulties that you faced, the hurdles that you faced, you still both managed to go to university, get multiple degrees, and have the careers that you had been looking forward to as children. So it really is an amazing story.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Time for our final break of this episode. Stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, and I will be right back.
Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast. Time to hashtag everything. We talk about all the fun, crazy stories on social media. From Instagram to Facebook, Twitter to Tumblr, or probably even Friendster. Join us each week as we explore the quirky side of social media. It's the Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast.
It's simple, such a sad song. The one that we rely on to get us.
Welcome back to the GSMC Book Review Podcast and the conclusion of my interview with Argita and Detina Zalli. The book takes the reader up through the time that you start university. We get a little bit of information beyond those years, but do you think you'll write another memoir in the future?
I think we will, and this is one of the reasons why we stopped the book at this point. We also want to write the other part of our memoir that basically shows how the years of sufferance, if I may call it so, the years of sacrifices, the years of trauma helped us build courage and resilience and led us to be limitless and to achieve what we have achieved so far.
Yeah, and actually one of the things that as I was reading the bits of information that we get from your post-secondary school education, you went to university in different places. So my main question was, how was that for you when you'd spent your entire lives together? Was that really hard?
Yes, it's Argita speaking now. So initially it was really difficult. So Detina went to Leicester University in UK, and I went to Birmingham. Now Leicester and Birmingham are about 45 minutes away by train, or an hour, something like that. And we found it really difficult, especially in the first year of doing our PhD, just because also it was the first time that we went away from home, from our parents. So the next year, what we decided to find a house in between Birmingham and Leicester. The house was in Nuneaton, so we lived together while we were studying, and then every morning we would get the train, one of us to Leicester, one of us to Birmingham, and that's how we did it. So we couldn't be apart. That's what we realized.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. My father's sisters were twins, and they lived next door to each other their whole lives. So while I'm not a twin, I do understand the relationship a little bit.
Oh,
that's nice.
So nice.
Yeah. Do you have advice for others who might be considering telling their own story through a memoir?
Yes, absolutely. I think the advice I would give is to be authentic, to share their story. Every story is amazing in its own way. Everyone is a hero of their own story, as they say. So if they want to share their story and if they want to inspire others, writing a book is a great way to do it. And they definitely should do it.
And this is a little bit off topic, but I just popped into my brain. What language did you write the memoir in? Did you translate it to English, or did you write it in English?
We wrote it in English, and it's been translated into Albanian this year. So now there's an Albanian version of the book as well.
Great, thank you. When you both take time to read, and I know you're very busy with careers and children and families and everything, but when you take time to read, do you have favorite authors or genres that you turn to?
Yes, one of my favorite authors is actually Michelle Obama. And especially I love her memoir, Becoming. And I really admire her for different reasons, including her inspirational leadership, advocacy for education, but also she's very, very committed to social issues and is a great positive role model for all of us. And I really, and Argita as well, we really look up to her.
Yes, I completely agree with that sentiment. She's an amazing person and an amazing writer as well. If people want to know more about the book and maybe a little bit more about you, if you have a website, can you tell people what the website is, as well as any social media they might be able to find you on?
Sure. So we have our website, thezallitwins.com. We have our Instagram account. My one is, we have actually 3. So we have the Zalli Twins Instagram account. Then we have our personal account, Argita Zalli, as my name is shown on the book. And
my Instagram is Zalli _Harvard. And we have also an Instagram that we share, the Zalli Twins in Instagram. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. We have talked about a few things, but is there anything that we haven't covered that you really want to make sure you highlight during this time?
Not really. The book is found in Amazon.com.
Is available worldwide?
It's available worldwide in US, and then Amazon.co.uk in UK. It's been awarded from Amazon. We have it's ranked number 1 in teens and biography and other categories in Amazon. So we have amazing reviews so far, and we are very proud.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well, and thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to talk to me about the book and a little bit about your experiences. This has been wonderful. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Sarah. Thank you very much.
Thank you again to Argita and Detina for joining me to talk about this memoir. Obviously, if you are a fan of memoirs, then you will want to check this out. But if you are at all interested in the refugee and or immigrant experience, this is a really good look from their perspective, one family's perspective of moving from a war-torn country. In this case, they moved from Albania to the UK. They moved to England. So it's not going to be representative of every experience, but that's the thing about memoirs, right? They're not representative of every experience. They're representative of the author's experiences. But those insights and those experiences can give us a window into maybe something that we aren't as familiar with, maybe experiences that we ourselves have never had, and really help us to understand what it's like to go through the type of events that their family went through in order to have a better life, in order for the Argita and Detina to go to college and to create these careers and to have the family and to help their parents, etc. They really were relying on each other. Their parents were trying to do the best for their children. Their children then in turn had to, in some ways, they were parentified. They had to become more of the adults in the situation because they were the ones that spoke English. So they were the translators, etc. But it was really a system that relied that was based on them all relying on each other, helping each other, being there for one another as they navigated the system and the process of moving and being refugees, getting to England, etc. So it's really an amazing story, and probably one that you will want to check out if you are at all interested in this type of story. So thank you to them for not only writing it, but being willing to share those experiences and share the vulnerability that they felt in those experiences, how it was for them. I really appreciate that. I hope that you will join me for my next episode. I am speaking over the weekend with author Noah Lemelson about the first 2 books in his Slick Dust trilogy. Those books are The Sightless City and The Lioness and the Rat Queen. Now, I have seen them described as steampunk, as diesel punk, as rust punk. Just in my brief kind of looking at the titles and their descriptions, etc. I'm reading through them, but those are the words that I'm seeing. Now, I'm gonna say right now, I don't really know what any of that means. I know the word steampunk. I feel like I maybe have a handle on it, but I'm gonna find out from the author of books that are described as again, steampunk, diesel punk, rust punk. I'm going to find out what the difference is in all of those because I am curious and now I must know. So join me for that conversation with Noah on the next episode. In the meantime, it's Friday. I hope that you have something great planned for yourself over the weekend. Something just for you, something that can, blow off steam or stay home and not talk to anybody or whatever it is that is the best mental health break for you. I hope that you can find it. If you are listening to this podcast right now, well, obviously you're listening to it right now because you wouldn't hear me say that if you weren't listening to it. You know what I mean. When you are listening to this podcast, if you are so inclined, I would really appreciate it if you would follow, subscribe on the platform on which you are listening. That will help you to know whenever there are new episodes. It also helps the podcast. Helping the podcast comes also when you leave a review. So if you wouldn't mind, you can leave a starred review or written review. Both are really great to get this podcast out to more listeners. Appreciate it in advance. Thank you so much. You can also follow the podcast on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Love hearing from you. So come find the podcast, come find me on social media, and tell me what you've been up to, what you've been reading. Hope you're having, I hope you've had a great week, and I hope your weekend is even better, and I especially hope that weekend affords you plenty of time to get yourself lost in a good book.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Book Review Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.